for finance.
Supposed to. Okay.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Water Bureau, Monday, July 28th, 2025, at 4:02 p.m. Is there any public comments relative to agenda items? Anyone? Nobody in person I see? Anybody over the phone or? No one? Okay. Then we'll go to the independent consumer advocates' comments and questions relative to agenda items.
Don't believe she's online.
No? Okay. We don't have a quorum, so we'll have to skip the approval of the minutes of May 19th. Number 5, discussion and potential action regarding passive recreation at Lake McDonough. You, Scott?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Chris Levesque's going to give a little presentation. We've given this presentation a couple of times now. And as you know, this issue keeps coming up regarding we cannot seem to get enough lifeguards. We need about 17 to have a full service there, minimum of 11, and we got one applicant this year. So we really want to focus on presenting, the facts, but really look at getting a commitment from Water Bureau to let us proceed with a plan to actually implement a passive recreation program, which would not include swimming, but it would be passive, like West Hartford Filter and the other places that we have, Greenswood. So, Chris Levesque.
Sure. Yeah, I'll start off. I think Victoria's just, yeah, there it is. Perfect. All right. We could jump to slide 2, Victoria.
Taking action.
Again, Chris Levesque with the MDC. Just to give everyone a quick update on the recreation facility at Lake McDonough. It's located in Barkhamsted and New Hartford. Sort of, you can see the town line split. The reservoir used to be compensating reservoir, but Lake McDonough in half. It's seated on about 1,626 acres of watershed land for Lake McDonough and 6 miles of trails. Current recreation uses are boating, obviously fishing. We could fish from the boats or fish from the shoreline. There's designated fishing areas along the lake. There's also hiking, as well as a longstanding agreement with the towns of New Hartford and Barkhamsted for swimming at Stancliffe Cove, which is it's a authority within the towns for managing a recreation area that the towns manage. So quickly getting into, MDC staff's been maintaining the boat launch. We set up some variable rates. We looked at it comparatively to a number of our member towns, Rocky Hill boat launch, other ones to manage the recreation there and still allow boating for people to bring in their private vessels to launch. So over the years, obviously we've been moving towards passive recreation. So access the hiking trails from the Seville Dam parking lot. So if any of you have been up there, we do have west and east parking lots. So the west parking lots are located near our spillway, and then the east parking lots, which is the larger parking lot, approximately about 80 spaces or so. They're not marked, they're not designated as individual spots, but we estimate about 80 vehicles can be fit in there. So for access into the recreation area, we do have an annual pass program or a day pass program. The facility is open to the public. Many members of the public enter from either the west or the east parking lots on the top of the dam. They can walk across the dam or take the trails. We have designated trails on the west side that lead down to the lower Seville Dam Road. There's a rebuilt stone walkway that they can access the road or just view the scenery from the area. Again, this is similar recreation use, similar to Regional Water Authority in New Haven uses. Again, we do send out regular communication about registering for access to the recreation areas, as well as issuing out the passes on an annual basis. Next slide, Victoria. Oh, I think I have the clicker. Just to give everyone an idea, there's historically three beach areas: Goose Green Beach, East Beach, and West Beach. Number of years ago, as Scott mentioned, we were having a difficult time, similar to now, of getting lifeguards. Even when we were keeping the beaches open, we were unable to keep Goose Green Beach open. And due to that, we ended up stabilizing this area. It was getting washouts from drainage coming there. So we did stabilize this with some vegetation, planted some native vegetation along the shoreline. Seemed to address the issues, but also take away sort of the temptation for access and swimming, unauthorized swimming, those type of things from the area. So we cleaned that up. I did want to provide sort of what the viewpoint is. We did utilize the drone issued out to water supply to take a couple aerial photos of the current state of the East and West Beach as well. So again, these areas for recreation use, walking, are accessible from the upper parking lots today. And this is more of an update on some of the fees that we issue out on an annual basis. But I think the discussion is to try to get an understanding of what could be the possible uses of this moving forward. How could we administer sort of a passive recreation programs to provide potentially more accessible access into these areas, specifically the upper East Beach parking lot, which would provide about approximately 40 parking spaces, but closer to the walking trails and closer to the nature that's so appealing for this area. So that's some of the discussion that we were looking for today.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, we'd like to get away from, I mean, when it was open full-time and we had lifeguards, we would have, buses come in with people. So we're really proposing to, it's always been open to resident and non-resident. We're not suggesting to change that, but we would like to limit the buses from coming in, because that's, just like West Hartford, we closed the park or the reservoir, at sunset, and we've got to get people out, so we want to make sure that we can be able to get people out safely and know that they're out, and we don't have to worry about someone that might be there after hours. So we'd have to add a few electronic gates and those kinds of things. But what we'd like to do is given this is, I think since COVID, this is the 4th year now where we have not had lifeguards. We'd like to basically bring a proposal to Water Bureau for a passive recreation program here. Continue the boating at the boating dock and see what you think. And that's really all we have, unless there's any questions.
Is there any questions? No? Oh, nope, I thought I got one, but no, she was just scratching here. Okay. All right, then we'll definitely want you to bring that forward, I would say.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Why don't we go back to the approval of minutes from May 19th, since we now have a quorum. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of May 19th?
So moved.
Oh, we got a second. We got it. Anybody have any additions, deletions, anything to add? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, discussion and potential action, hydroelectric power and ISO New England. We're on this again?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Scott Chelsen. This is actually something completely different. We've been talking hydro about, over the last couple of years, we've been talking about Colebrook Reservoir and closing that hydro facility. and then recently talking about low-flow hydro at Goodwin. This is to talk specifically about the 3 megawatts, the 2 turbines that we have at Goodwin, and their condition, their age, and the recent changes in fees and penalties associated with ISO New England. So Lindsay is going to give us a little presentation, educate us on the changing environment as it relates to us in our revenue stream.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name's Lindsay Stroll. I'm with our Water Treatment and Supply Department. I've had the privilege of working on our district's supply and, sorry, I'm getting used to the microphone. I've been working on water supply infrastructure here for the duration of my career. And so, like Scott indicated, I'll be giving a status update of some of the impacts we're seeing on our hydro operations from the electric markets and some other considerations for our hydro operations. So before I get into the current operations, I just wanted to give a really brief background for our 2 hydro facilities. So, and for brevity, I'm just going to refer to them as Colebrook and Goodwin moving forward. So in 1982, our district board approved our hydroelectric program. And so in 88, we commissioned the Colebrook hydroelectric facility, which was another 3 megawatt facility. We were getting a 9 cent per kilowatt hour rate to begin with in 1988. And then we were in a contract with Connecticut Light and Power for 30 years. But in 1998, the Connecticut State Legislature voted in Public Act 9828, which was for market deregulation for the electrical market. And we entered into a buy-down agreement with CL&P, who's now Eversource, where we received a lump sum of $13 million in the buy-down. And subsequently, our rate schedule had dropped us down to 3 cents per kilowatt hour. That contract ended in 2016. By the end of it, we were seeing about 5.5 cents per kilowatt hour per the schedule. And so after that, we were 3 years on the wholesale market with ISO New England. 2019, the Army Corps of Engineers at the Colebrook River Lake Dam had to work on their release infrastructure, their gates and their outlet conduit. And so to accommodate that, we had to remove our turbines. At that point, it made sense for us to perform a life cycle cost assessment. Do we rehabilitate the turbines? Do we replace them? And that life cycle cost assessment, given the rates at the time, indicated that it wouldn't be cost effective for us to do anything with them. So we decided to we removed them on a permanent basis. So that's Colebrook, but rewinding a couple years back to 1986, we commissioned the Goodwin hydroelectric facility, which was, again, 3 megawatts, slightly higher, but we have a nominal capacity of 3 megs. Again, rates were 9 cents a kilowatt hour, which in today's dollars, that equates to about 27 cents per kilowatt hour, just to give you a reference point. And so market deregulation, again, 3 cents per kilowatt hour. Fast forward to last year, we received an average rate of 4 cents per kilowatt hour. And I just have a little note there that, you know, we need some capital improvements at the hydro facility currently. And so to kind of bring it back to the markets, ISO New England is the grid operator. So they're a nonprofit. It stands for Independent System Operator New England. So in 2016, when our contract with Eversource terminated, we contracted with CMEC to act as the lead market participant on our behalf. So they were making all the market decisions for us. We were getting monthly settlement information. And so things were kind of moving along. That contract expired, and we decided to register as our own lead market participant. So now we are a direct member of ISO New England. And so our consultant, Energy New England, they advise us on electrical sales in the markets. And so currently we are directly engaged in monthly and annual capacity auctions. And I'll explain what that means in a little bit, but I just wanted to go over the 3 different mechanisms where we make money off of hydro. So the first one is pretty simple. It's just direct energy sales, right? So we produce some kilowatts and we get paid for it based on wholesale market pricing. The second is renewable energy certificates, which each, I'll call RECs, each REC is equivalent to 1 megawatt hour of green energy. So these are purchased and sold to support green energy initiatives. If somebody wants to say that they're, net carbon neutral, they'll purchase RECs. So that's one avenue. And just as a little aside, we are only eligible for Maine Class 2 RECs, and that is the lowest cost REC available based on our classification, and that's based on the age of our infrastructure and the fact that we're not a run-of-the-river facility. Just for some context, the Class 1 Connecticut RECs were about 10 times as much this past year. So unfortunately, we make $10,000 to $20,000 on REC sales on an annual basis instead of $100,000 to $200,000 for some context. So the third mechanism where we receive payments from ISO New England is called the capacity. So basically how we receive those payments is, and how ISO has all of their generators participate in what's called a forward capacity market. So it's basically like insurance for the grid. So ISO New England will provide payments to generators to say, when we need you, when we call on you, you better be making your capacity. You better be putting out 3 megs, right? And so if you're not putting out your 3 megs or whatever your capacity is, when they need you, when they call upon you in like a scarcity event where the demand is greater than the supply on the grid, we are now exposed to penalties for that. And so we've been exposed to these penalties in the past, but the one big change that we've experienced recently is that as of June 1st of this year, those penalties went up to almost $10,000 per megawatt hour short. So if we're producing 2 instead of 3 for megs for an hour and it's a scarcity event, that's $10,000 right there in penalties. So there are monthly caps on those penalties. Right now it's about $43,000 per month. And there are myriad reasons why we might not be putting out our nominal capacity. I mean, we have old infrastructure that requires downtime for maintenance and rehab and that kind of thing. We are experiencing periodic droughts. We're not a natural gas facility, so we're totally dependent on the availability of water. And one other thing that we've noticed over time is that these scarcity events are occurring more frequently. And so actually the most recent event occurred, and the longest duration scarcity event that we've experienced on the grid since the history of pay for performance, which is what this program is called, was actually on June 24th. And we had a turbine down for maintenance at that point. And so we were penalized about $20,000. So in order to avoid these penalties, what we can do, we engage in those monthly and annual markets, right? What's called the forward capacity market. We try to shed our obligation because we're a very risk-averse entity. So to shed that obligation, you have to pay, basically. So you're receiving these payments from ISO to provide your capacity, but then you have to pay to get rid of it. And what we're finding is that we have to pay more than what we're receiving to get rid of that capacity obligation. So we have the potential to net negative if we are able to successfully shed our load. And we are seeing generators like us, other big generators, everyone is getting way more aggressive in the market since these penalty increases. And so the dollar value is spiking to sell your capacity obligation. So we've been, so we're bidding upwards of $6 to $7 a megawatt hour, where we only received $2.50 a megawatt hour in payments. So we're paying almost 3 times as much just to get rid of that that obligation, because we want to put ourselves in the most risk-averse position. As we're a water and sewer utility, we can't play the market, so to speak. And so, in addition to the market issues, another big change that kind of came as a big hammer down on all of us was some new regulatory requirements. So the hydroelectric facilities and thus the dams that they're built upon are regulated by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, whereas all of our other dams, because we don't have hydro facilities at our other dams, they're all regulated by the Connecticut DEEP. And so FERC in 2021, they changed their dam safety regulations to require this big, every 10-year, it's called a comprehensive assessment. And what it is, it requires a full panel of dam safety experts. It's very intensive. It's a long duration. That's why they sent us the letter this year, and it's not due until the end of 2026, but it's almost like a 2-year process. And so we got a quote from a consultant to perform this work, and I'll just say that there's not many consultants out there who have a whole panel of dam safety experts available at their discretion. So we received a quote for over $300,000 for our first comprehensive assessment. And so our overall estimated cost is $400,000, but that may be conservative given the time requirement that's involved from staff. And so every 5 years in the interim between those 10-year comprehensive assessments, I'll call them CAs, we have an interim inspection, which also requires a dam safety expert to be hired. However, you only need one instead of a bunch of them this time. So it's a little more cost effective, but it's still in the range of $100,000 cost to us to comply with this. So in addition to the every 5-year inspections, we also have our annual inspections with a FERC staff. They'll come out and meet with our staff. I go on the inspections with them. It's a big burden on our operational staff to prepare for it and get ready. And so in addition to those inspections where we're not hiring a consultant for those, but it is a lot of time and effort for our staff to prepare and be available for those days. But we also have, FERC requires a very intensive compliance monitoring and reporting program. So that's been another burden, I'll say. And so I explained a little bit about the changes in the market, the changes with our operational costs, but then our other consideration is our life cycle costs. So as I said before, we need upgrades at Goodwin Hydro in the range of millions of dollars. So, our turbines are almost 40 years old, which is their typical useful lifespan. I think, a typical Francis turbine, you could get a longer life out of it, but they do need intensive rehabilitation in order to keep them going. So we call it at the end of their useful life before they're fully rehabilitated and or replaced. And so that capital investment over the next 5 to 10 years is, I have 10 to 20, I would say it's closer to 10 to $12 million, but even with the cost reflected, with our current revenues, we do not foresee a reasonable payback period or a payback period at all, to be honest. And so here I've graphed out our net fund position, our hydroelectric fund position over the past 15 years. You can kind of see where we make our transfers out, that the orange is our net position, and then the blue is our actual asset value. So the asset, of course, is depreciating over time, but our net position, which incorporates the asset value, our unrestricted position funds, is also downward trending. You can see where you make the withdrawals, the transfers out to the general fund, and then in the middle there, it's kind of stabilized because we paused those withdrawals for a little bit. And so that's kind of the history, and I'll show you on this next slide. I built out a model for projections, and it's very linear, I know, but that's just based on the model having standardized increases or decreases over time. So for example, our revenue is based on a 5 cent per kilowatt hour rate on an annual average starting next year with a 1% escalation over the next 40 or so years. The expenses incorporate both our operational and our capital expenses. So in real life, you're going to see these trends undulate a little bit. You're going to have better revenue years than others and worse revenue years than others. Your expenses are going to, vary, but overall, our net position is negative. And you can play around with the model and try to make it work, and it's just, unfortunately, with the rates we have, the rec rates that we have, it's just not, you don't achieve your payback for the capital improvements and even for just our increasing operational expenses. And so just to kind of summarize the challenges that we're up against, the low rates, the low rec rates, those penalties that we're experiencing, those huge operational costs, and then on top of that, the capital improvement needs, we will likely never achieve that payback period, even if we tried to minimize those capital improvements. So unless the only way for things to change would be for us to see a change in rates. Everyone else in the state is experiencing the same issues. Other small hydro generators are facing the same exact problems that we are. There's large generators who are doing fine because they have economy of scale, whereas we don't have that luxury with a 3 megawatt facility. So, like I said, unless we saw some kind of rate change or a change in the REC classifications, I think it'll remain financially non-viable. The REC classification is based on a 2003 or later installation date and run-of-the-river operation, which neither of those things qualify us from Goodwin Hydro. So I will just say that every other state in New England has a program to standardize the service rates. We are the only state in New England that doesn't have any kind of program to give us those standard rates. So unless we see something in the range of like 12 to 24% guaranteed for the foreseeable future, cents, not percent, 12 to 24 cents per kilowatt hour in the future, we are not financially viable at Goodwin. And so I just wanted to present all this information to you folks, and I'll take any questions if anybody has anything.
Questions?
If
Go ahead.
if I could just add to Lindsay's, and Lindsay, that was excellent. Everything Lindsay said is we're not in the business of taking risk, right? So take away the life cycle cost analysis issue, the $10 to $20 million. The risk of us, we've got about $4.5 million in our fund for hydro. We're in this contract till 2028 with FERC. If we had a drought, that doesn't even consider drought. So if we had a drought and we were not producing power for months, never mind just down for maintenance, the risk of the change in penalties, I think last year we had $2,500 worth of penalties, and this year we had almost 20,000. So the change in the risk was $2 per megawatt hour. Now it's $9. It's just completely changing, and we're going to have to take risk, which means we're going to have to budget it. So we have to say, okay, MDC, we think we're going to make $400,000 or $500,000 a year in revenue on hydro this year. How much do we think we're going to lose? So we're going to actually have to start to budget a loss. And as Lindsay mentions, the longer this goes, the older our system gets, the higher the penalties become, the more risk we're having to take. And then as we know, the droughts, they come and go, and we are really susceptible to this new rate structure that is being imposed through ISO New England. So we're really proposing that we need to consider getting and removing the hydro units from our facilities. We've got some work to do in talking through FERC and how that works with the contracts and all those good things. But there is a real risk of us losing money, never mind making money. We've been over the last few years, we've got about $5 million, give or take, in that account. And these penalties come out of that account. And so we've been averaging, dividing by 3, and we'll take 1.1. Last year, we took 1.1 million. But my concern this year is, given these significant increases, if we start using that money and we have a drought or we have the facilities down, we may need to save that money for penalties. So I'll leave it at that.
Questions? Buddy?
Oh, did you? go on with that? Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks, both Scott, and for the presentation. I've often asked about this in particular. I joined the MDC right after the big turbines were put up at High Dam, and we added the Goodwin as well. The question I've asked before about this is that certainly if we understood or we thought we understood what the intent of the Connecticut State Legislature and the Department of Environmental Protection, or Energy and Environmental Protection, is that, they fully support, the generation of electricity without burning hydrocarbons and without taking over landscapes. I don't know if you've ever been up to East Windsor and seen what a solar farm looks like, but it's incredible. I mean, it's got to be visible from outer space. It's that big, But this is water that's going through the dam anyway. We're not changing a thing. We're just making it go through a turbine before we dump it out on the other side. So we're not changing anything. And I am surprised that the level of regulatory, issues that have been placed on it and have a cost associated with them. That's what's really, hard to accept. That, we don't know what these regulatory issues are for. I don't, we haven't gotten into details with them, but I can see. And then, when we made the switch in 1998, I was here then, and chairman of the Water Bureau, but there was a market for green energy, and basically all the big energy producing companies had to have, I think, 2% of their generation had to come from green sources. So they were forced to buy from us, and at a rate that actually delivered our, some revenue to our. I don't think it doesn't go to the Water Bureau. It goes to the ad valorem side, right?
Yes, so it goes into that hydroelectric fund, and then we make transfers out that go to the general fund, the ad valorem.
Right.
Yes,
I didn't,
correct.
yeah. So I got to believe that that everyone our size or smaller is in the same predicament as we are.
Absolutely, they
I don't
are.
even know who could be bigger than us. I mean, we have the highest dam and the biggest reservoir. Who has a bigger hydro facility than we do?
Springfield has like 30.
Well, I'm talking about Connecticut.
Yeah, right.
Candlewood.
So in Connecticut, I don't know who has a bigger one. So this doesn't look like support from the legislature to me. And I think that we have to prepare, I think Scott's being cautious, and I think we have to. I mean, we don't want to get put in a position where we lose money and we start having to pay penalties because there's a drought. And I understand, how the effect that has on Goodwin. But I do think that we should be part of, and, at least, or if not leading, with a discussion with the legislature about whether or not they really support green energy. Because I don't think they do. According to what you said today, I don't think they do at all. I think that something else entirely is going on here. I don't know if the other producers of green energy go through Pura, and we don't. I don't know how that works. I don't know who they are. But, I think that we need to let our legislative delegation know that we have a way to produce revenue to keep the cost of our services down, and we're a public agency. We have an obligation to do that. And, but each time we try to do it, another layer of regulation makes it cost more or makes it dangerous for us to be in this business because we'd have to pay penalties, which I understand, but I think that we have to, Mr. Chairman, my suggestion is that we open some kind of discussion with the legislative delegation for the MDC regarding the issue, and that we keep moving forward with what we heard about plans for tonight. But I think that people should know that we're being sort of forced out of this business. That's my assessment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, approximate revenue yearly from this after expenses?
So we, roughly $4
4
to
million.
$600,000 a year, give or take. But for example, let's assume that the capacity payment is roughly $150,000. This penalty we're going to have in shutting down the plant for maintenance is going to cost us 90. So we're going to lose 90. We'll make it 150, but we're going to lose 90 of it. So it's the volatility that's scary. It's that not so much if you could control, okay, we're going to lose X, but even if we say we're going to shut down for a month because we got to maintain something, we got to, as Lindsay said, you got to go into the market and you got to sell, you got to buy your own stock back through the market, and you got to bid high enough to win it, and hopefully your bid is lower than what you pay on the penalty, the $9.
And you said that we were locked in until 2028. And are we aware of the process to get out of it yet and how long it's going to take?
We're working on that. So
And
staff
and
would.
the other question would be, is it possible to leave, is it possible to have the equipment either left in there or would you be able to leave it so that if the market changes and it gets profitable to get back into it, that it's easy to get back into?
So we wouldn't remove.
You wouldn't remove anything?
We'd obviously, it'd be some maintenance, but it's not like Coldbrook where we had to remove the equipment because it wasn't our facility, right?
Okay.
But I would like to just add to the comment, commissioners, on the legislature. So, when we were aggressively going after, there's been all kinds of programs, ZREC credits, clean energy credits. We went aggressively, Chris Stone, ourselves, went and went to the legislature, and we tried desperately to get everyone to understand that the issue about run of the river, and the end result was because of the whatever the date is 2001 or whatever the date was, the legislation passed. We are considered existing, not new. And that's the problem. If we were considered new, and we even asked, Pura in the legislature, if we replace everything and we turn it into a whole new facility, would we be considered new? The answer was no. So we've gone down that route. Not to mean we couldn't do it again, but we did put an exhaustive effort, Chris, at the legislature, trying to get ourselves to qualify for the clean energy credits. But because we're an existing facility, prior to 2001, we're not allowed to get those. That's why those RECs are so cheap, in terms of our revenue stream.
Oh, I was just going to make a comment about the state legislature support of renewable energy programs. They support wind and solar, but not hydropower in the same capacity. We're kind of left out of the fun, so.
Peter, then, buddy.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have a number of things here. So even if we have planned maintenance, we got to pay if the base grid needs electricity. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Planned, you can't say I'm going to be shut down for 4 weeks and.
Yes, correct. We are on the hook. So when we know that we're going to be down with either one or both of our units, we have to make what is called a good faith effort to basically reduce or shed our capacity supply obligation. So, FERC and ISO will frown heavily on us continuing to collect forward capacity payments, knowing that we have units down. So and especially if we want to reduce our risk exposure, we need to pay to get out, basically, to shed our load. And like I said earlier, getting out is more money than it is what we're receiving in those payments to be online.
All right, so a follow-up on that is what are they doing with all that money?
So that's a
All right,
great question.
Who's making the money? Is it and I don't know if anyone knows this, but that's, to me, is if you're being penalized, all right, I can understand if you have a drought and the turbines aren't working, okay, that seems reasonable, but if it's almost, it's backwards, all right? So I want to know who's making the money, all right? Or do they have to go to Canada to buy it, and now there's tariffs and all this other stuff. Who knows how much electricity it costs? I mean, there's a lot of politics in basic energy.
So generators who produce more power than what their capacity supply obligation actually is will receive an increased rate during those grid demand events. So they're making extra money. And I'm not saying it's happened, but there's been some weird things happening on the markets where it looks like people are kind of playing a game in that respect, shedding obligation and then knowing that they'll be online to get some of that additional revenue because they're getting more than what they would have otherwise.
Well, that sounds like Enron in a way, okay, if you remember that. I have a follow-up, Mr. Chairman, so FERC is the Federal Energy Regulatory Compliance?
Regulatory Commission.
Commission.
Correct.
Okay, commission. So what is that, the Department of the Interior, the Department of Energy? Who does that?
They're a federal organization, obviously, but they're a separate entity that oversees energy nationwide.
So did Congress write these rules, or did Congress say, regulate stuff and outsource it to, a bunch of people that don't like dams? All right, I have a feeling it's political, it's economic or environmental politics, with this, and because they want to put you out of business, and if that's what they're going to do. But have we talked to our lobbyists to talk to Congressman Larson, or Commissioner Salemi talks about our delegation. I don't know if you're talking about in Hartford or in Washington, but this is nuts, okay, that they're trying to put this out of business. But if they're going to put it out of business through regulation, so be it. I mean, we'll have windmills.
So I agree with a lot of what you said. In Maine, the state of Maine, they're knocking dams down, right? So there's a whole different logic up there to get rid of the dams. But remember, the whole reason why they're paying us capacity payments, and we're mandated to be, part of this ISO program, lead market participant. We had to hire someone because they said in 2016, 2017, you must have a lead market participant, but we weren't one, so we had to hire one. And now we're doing it ourselves with a consultant. But remember, if we say, okay, we're going to provide you with 3 megawatts, and they're relying on that 3 megawatts. If we don't have our 3 megawatts, and we even on the rec part, it's quote clean energy, but we're getting paid little on the clean energy rec. The legislature dictates. It's not PURA. PURA is just following the legislature. The legislature says you will produce X amount of power. And and X amount will be clean energy, and so clean energy, wind and solar, is subsidized by the state. So these, so if you're relying on this green energy as part of your portfolio, and you're mandated by PURA to do it, and now a utility is going to get penalized if they call our 3 megawatts at the Goodwin Dam, and it's not there. So now they got to go buy it somewhere else, and it could be a coal manufacturing, a coal plant, and so they're going to get penalized. So it's all being driven by the legislature. And it's all being driven because the legislature and all of New England has said, you will produce X amount of power for wind and solar. And that's why our prices in Connecticut are the highest except for Hawaii, the highest prices in the country.
Well, we gotta change the people over there because this is crazy. We're gonna go broke. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Go ahead, Bud.
I don't want to drag this out, but I know Commissioner Payne asked Scott sort of responded, revenues are between $400,000 and $600,000, $400,000, $600,000 a year. But that's at the rate we get now. If Lindsay said if we were to get somewhere between 12 and 24 cents, we're talking about in excess of $2 million, and it definitely would be worth it for us to do that then. But we just don't have the support from the legislative support, and the regulatory issues are too dangerous for us to kind of mess with. In response to your question, I'm talking about the Connecticut State Legislature, not the New England, because that's where the issue is right now. It's not the federal government right now. I think the issue is the Connecticut and DEEPs and the regulations that are promulgated right here in Connecticut, or in New England, I should say, as well. But with respect to whether or not we can keep we've done it before, whether or not we can keep it going. So this contract runs to 2028, the current contract we have?
It's not really a contract, but yes, we're obligated to participate in this market until May 31st of 2028.
And I think anytime after that, we can keep the hydroelectric plant and we can use the electricity ourselves. We did it in the past, and we just, basically you can put it on the grid and get it back at a lower rate from the electric company, or you can find some way to use it yourself. We don't ever have to turn it off and throw them away. I mean, we can keep them there until something gets better with it. But that's why I don't want to drag it out. And like I said, there's a potential, if things were more favorable to us, to go back to where we were earning, over $2 million a year with just Goodwin, and I think that would be an exceptional advantage for the MDC to have that kind of revenue coming in for doing almost nothing. And I think that would be important for us, but I think it's going to take, some sort of action with the legislature. Otherwise, it's just going to keep getting worse, obviously. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I would say you also have the issue of maintenance-wise, as Scott and Lindsay were saying, there's going to be some costs associated with those turbines, so that's going to have to be factored in too. But and then, like before, one of the reasons we took the turbines out of the other dam was, weren't we paying property taxes on that equipment?
Yeah,
as
we
well?
were, but they were at their end useful life, so it's.
But we would pay on these too,
yeah.
don't we?
Well, we pay taxes in all of our watershed towns, so I don't know how much we pay for the hydro units. We pay about $500,000 a year, John, in Colebrook area, roughly.
Yeah, I mean, the personal property on the machinery itself is obviously a smaller piece of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is a component.
It is, okay. But yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're moving forward with, we're learning more, and we need our consultant to tell us and figure out this date, this 2028. We're focused. I've had a lot of conversations with staff on the finance side and the budgeting side and on the operations side to make sure that we're protecting the risk for these penalties and God forbid drought. So we'll be coming back to you for the next Bureau meeting and have a conversation about what we're going to propose. Okay? And we'll have to have this conversation at Board of Finance as well, because it will impact our revenue stream from hydro, and we just don't know what those numbers look like this year, but we will be talking about it in the Board of Finance meeting.
So we're saying, though, the legislature in Connecticut's the real the problem.
Yeah.
Because I hear in the paper every day that the federal government's going to cut back on federal regulations.
Oh, yes,
But that's
yeah.
not really going to help us
No.
here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. But the thing is, the $500,000 or the $400,000 bill to inspect your dam.
Yeah.
That's probably coming, I'm sure John Larson knows nothing about it. He just voted on a big pile of paper.
Right.
All right? And the same with the senators is, that's a big bill, all right, coming from the federal government. And they just made stuff up like they typically do, all right?
Well-
I mean,
Well, I guess we
that's why I'm
can-
talking about Washington, because that's a big bill. You get out of it because of $500,000 or $400,000. I don't want the water payers, or the ratepayers to have to do a bunch of nonsense. Doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Brad. Thanks, Lindsay.
Lindsay, great job.
Thank you.
Next is discussion, potential action regarding possible water sales to town of Portland or town of Manchester.
I'm just gonna give a quick summary. Dave, come on up. As you know, we've talked about this a couple of times. We've met with the town of Portland multiple times. We've been meeting with the town of Manchester as well. We got some good news with Manchester, and then we don't really have a solution yet for Portland. But Dave, go ahead.
So Dave Banker, Assistant Manager, Technical Services. So just jumping in here. Thanks, Scott. For the past year or so, we've had a few discussions back and forth with the town of Manchester. So they have PFAS contamination in most of their wells that are in their low pressure service area, which is the one that borders the East Hartford town line. They've been doing their evaluations to either potentially interconnect to the MDC or install treatment facilities for all those wells, which is quite expensive for them. So they're going through those alternatives right now. We discussed it with them it was Pat Carney that was with them last summer, but he's moved on to New Britain. So now, last month he met with Shannon Miles and Steve Stefanu from Manchester to discuss the potential of developing an interconnection to help them with their issue. So in our previous analysis we did last summer, we evaluated 3 locations. We provided that information to them again. And then they're looking for potentially 2.4 MGD of water, or it could be even more than that. They're still looking. Next slide, please. So these are the 3 locations that we included in our evaluation. So the best one, at least for the water capacity wise, is listed first. So Forest Street on the East Hartford side, connecting to Woodside Circle once you get into Manchester. So you'd start at the 16-inch main that's actually going down Oak Street there, and then connecting over to the town line. So for this connection spot, we had 5 MGD or more available potentially for them to use. So there's more than enough water than they're looking for. The next alternative location is Talon Street, which switches over to Talon Turnpike once it gets to the Manchester side. It's connecting off of 2 8-inch water mains there. And then the third one down is in South Windsor, Clark Street at Chapel Road. And then that would extend down into Manchester from there. So I can go sorry. So if and when the discussions turn into the potential for an interconnection, these are just a reminder of some of the items that we'll have to go through. So first and foremost would be a contract negotiation with them to define the quantities of water, the terms of the agreement. There would, of course, be Water Bureau and board approval from the MDC side, and likewise on Manchester side. We would need to have a water diversion application to be allowed to transfer water from MDC to Manchester. That'd be with the DEP. And then with DPH, there'd be a sale of excess water permit, which would formalize the amount of water that'd be transferred for that agreement to say 1 million gallons a day, 2 million gallons a day, whatever that formal quantity is, that would come out of MDC's water supply and then be considered part of Manchester's. And then, not to be forgotten, it'd be the design and construction of the actual pipeline and pump station or whatever infrastructure might be required. So that was all I had for this.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, please.
So in our meetings, timing, they have indicated they've got a lot of work to do internally with their town and the engineers and their testing, but they were looking to have some kind of a decision of what they want to do and how much water they're going to actually need, the 2.4 million, by the fall, December timeframe, which would be, we would obviously bring that to the board. We wouldn't be able to, build this and have them as a customer like that, but we could do it, as quickly as possible within 18 months or so. But this one account, 2.4 million, it would drop our rate by like 28 cents as it is right now, just this one account. So this is and as Dave said, this is just the first step. Like this is a PFAS issue. They need to address this. They may ask us to do more, but we haven't had that conversation yet, but we're going to move forward with them on that. And so hopefully it's a positive solution. This is going to be, we're going through this process with EPA. Everyone's going through this process with testing for PFAS in your water. It will be, this will become the norm. We're going to start to see more and more of our towns close to us needing water, and hopefully the MDC and our water ratepayers will benefit from it. The one thing we're going to do, and we'll talk a lot about this in the Portland, is one lessons learned that we don't want to do is they have told us they need 2.4 million and that would replace their entire well system. So their safe yield of their well system is 2.4. And we told them, like we told Portland, that's fine, but we're not going to, there's a take or pay, right? So you take or pay X amount, and then, so if they want 2.4, we're not going to say, okay, take 1 million gallons a day, and then we'll give you all that free safe yield. We're not going to do that anymore. So they understand that, and we're looking to sell them water. Want to sell them water. We don't want to build capacity for their safe yield. Go ahead, Dave.
So
I'm sorry.
Bud, go ahead.
Okay, I don't want to interrupt the presentation, but I just, so the level that these discussions are taking place at are at the staff level. These are technical issues that we have with the staff, but I think, and particularly for Manchester, but also for Portland, that there's the issue of the possibility either one of those towns could become a member of the MDC. They both have both water and sewer. Portland has a small sewage treatment plant down by the Connecticut River near their downtown area. And of course, Manchester has a large sewage treatment plant. Manchester has a population close to 60,000, and there are a lot of private wells, but there's also a lot of, the two water companies are now combined to one, and I'm sure they have thousands of customers across those two companies. And they provide fire protection throughout the town as well. And that's not a discussion that takes place between staff. That's a discussion that takes place at the level of the district board and their political representation in those two towns. I can tell you that, and this is like ancient history, so it's not going to affect anything we're doing now, but probably a little over 15 years ago that I went to Portland with Bob Moore, if some of you remember Bob Moore from the staff, to talk about the issue of Portland. This was at the time when we had the put or pay thing in the process and working. Talked to I forget if she was the mayor or the first selectman or whatever. But the issue then was that they'd prefer to become a member of the MDC, except that they had a water company that had employees that were, worried about where their job was going to go if that changed, and I think all we had to do at the time was guarantee to hire the people on their staff, but that didn't work out either. But, Manchester has their own water company, their own sewage treatment plant, and by all accounts, if they didn't have this problem with PFAS, they'd be doing okay. I think that that's an issue that they can't deal with, and it makes it better for them to deal with us. But Manchester's a town that's, exact contiguous to the MDC, to the district, and you just showed us technically how we could supply them with water, right? I mean, and supply basically the whole town at some point if they shut down their well systems. We already know that we can do that with Portland, and so safe yield that comes out of our reservoirs, if we added Manchester and Portland, we're still not at the total. So I think that there should be at least some discussion at the board level with the town of Manchester and their government to at least discuss this issue as a possibility, and if it's not going, if it doesn't work for them or for us, then it doesn't work for them, for us, and we can go forward with perhaps turning them into a customer. But the strength of the MDC would be much greater with 60,000 more customers, I think. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Chairman Curry, I believe you have your hand up.
Thank you. I'm on my phone, so I'm not sure that you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Oh, outstanding. While I thought the presentation was complete, otherwise I would have waited, but since I have the floor, to some point I agree with Commissioner Salemi that as we move forward with negotiations, which I hope we do, and we're the ones who have the water, and I'm not suggesting we would stonewall any community, but I would hope that the board, in meeting with administration, would set parameters that we need to encourage these towns, especially Manchester and Portland, going forward, that they should become member towns. Selling water, yes, will benefit our ratepayers, but a member town will benefit our communities as well in terms of the ad valorem. And Scott, I know you mentioned we could decrease, but I just want to plant that seed that those funds should go into the rate stabilization fund to maintain, so when increases become necessary, we can balance those off with that rate stabilization fund. Like any municipality, when you start reducing taxes and then you have a year where things don't go as you plan, all of a sudden you're seeing a double increase in taxes in 1 year instead of weighing it out in each of several years. So just keep that in mind. But the only other issue I want to make is that I disagree with Commissioner Salemi. Meetings with the district board and our administration to set those parameters, and then the administration negotiates with those towns. The district board does not negotiate with towns, and there's no need to meet with the towns. They know they have a need for water. And in Manchester's case, PFAS, Portland, I forget what it is, arsenic or salt, or maybe PFAS too, but and they've made what I consider an unwise decision to start a new well and expect different results. And I'm hoping that they'll come around and become a member town. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a reminder on Portland, at least. The board approved $50,000, and we hired a consultant to actually do a study for Portland to become a member town. And the town went through that in great detail. We did as well, Susan, myself, and Chris, and we went to a lot of board meetings in town of Portland. The town chose to not become a member town for a lot of reasons. They only have 1,500 water customers, and they have 6,500 taxpayers, in terms of households and businesses. So only a very small portion of the town has water, and that's why they do not want to become a member town. And when it comes to Manchester, obviously we would not have that conversation in detail with the town without bringing it forward here. The town of Manchester asked us specifically, the only thing they want right now is this 2.4 million gallons in water. They are not interested in a member town. there's a politics there of they don't want to scare their employees in having a conversation about becoming a member town. So the only thing they've asked us so far is for analyzing this 2.4 million gallons of water, and if they choose to do something in addition to that or become a member town, their sewer system is in really good shape. Relatively new treatment plant. You'd have to consider the issue about the ordinance, which says if you're a member town, you have to pay the clean water surcharge if you get water and sewer. Now, given the fact that they have their own sewer shed and their own treatment plant, maybe you could revise it. But they just said we don't even want to talk about it because there's a lot of, as you can imagine, there's a lot of politics in their town right now about their employees and those kinds of things. So we're just going to focus on what they've asked us for, and we'll let you know what comes out of that.
Mr. Chairman, you have your hand up again.
Yes, I can't help myself with Scott's comments. And I would hope that the board would consider, may take legislative action, I don't know, but any town who wants to become a member town, we grandfather the Clean Water Act as it is now. Of course, any new funding, once they become a member, they also would be obligated to share that cost. Thank you.
So, anyone else? One more, and then we.
Yeah, just quick. If all I suggested before was that I think the district board ought to be aware of all the details and requirements that it would take for a town like Manchester to become a member. We should have that in front of us. We should know exactly what it's going to cost them, what it's going to cost us, and so forth. That should be in front of us before we decide which way anybody's going with. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I know there's been some buyer's remorse on certain towns, so we'll be careful. Dave, you want to go on to Portland next?
I didn't prepare anything for Portland, actually.
Oh, okay.
We just have-
So there's no new change there. Still,
Yeah,
right?
well, there is. We've had a number of meetings with staff and with the town manager. We even, thank God, the town managers even brought in their attorneys. We had Chris with us. They have. I think the town of Portland is making a very big mistake. They have budgeted $2 million to drill a test well. They then got authorization through the town council to spend another $8 to $10 million to build the infrastructure for this new well. We were made aware by the previous town manager and town engineer that they had PFAS in their existing well, and they had salt due to it was in the DPW garage area, so it was contaminated with salt. We were told that, and that's in part, they got a $250,000 grant from the DPH to explore a new well. We have explained to the staff, to the town managers, to the first select woman and first select man, and there's been two since we started talking, that the concern we have is that we don't really know what they want in terms of, they think that they need 2 years extension, and they are going to be coming back to us with we've asked them, tell us exactly what you're looking for and exactly how much water you want to buy, how much take or pay you want to, and then we'll react to it. But we're not going to, there's really nothing to react to yet. But what we did have the chance to do is explain to their attorneys in these meetings about the PFAS. And the concern I have said to Portland is, you have one well that has PFAS in it. Now you're going to build another well. Granted, it's a distance away, but it's still in the town of Portland. It's still along the aquifer of the Connecticut River, and you're going to you could possibly start to experience over time PFAS in that well. And the concern we have is that the mid-90s, 1995 through 2000, and as if anybody was around at that time, the world was going to end because we were going to provide water to Portland. And the diversion permit through Farmington River Watershed Association modified the diversion, limited the diversion to 1.1 million gallons a day. And the concern is that if we get rid of that water sale agreement with DPH, and then we let the diversion permit expire, the town of Portland will never get this water back. Not because we won't want to sell it to them, but because everybody who fought so hard from the watershed towns to not allow it to happen in the first place will have a much bigger voice. And as you remember, in 2013, the world was going to end when we were trying to give water to Yukon. So we've been trying to, let other people in the town understand that this is a real big risk for them. So we're just waiting for them to come back and tell us, okay, we want a 2-year extension, we want X amount of water, and then we're going to bring it back. We've already told them the same thing I said earlier for Manchester. The board is not interested in giving free safe yield water away for nothing. Either a higher rate or take or pay. And I know Chairman Curry is going to say something about that. But the point is, we're going to bring that proposal to Water Bureau and to the full board. And once we get it, and then we can have a conversation with the Water Bureau and the full board about what that looks like. I don't pretend to know what they're going to do. So we're just waiting to get some feedback from them.
Very good. Okay, thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
On the water main breaks and the water revenue, I didn't see anything particularly outstanding. Was there anything you guys wanted to present, or should we just say, go?
Chris, you got anything on
Want to
that?
give us a summary? We're running up because.
Yeah, just for, and I know Chairman Curry asked for just an update on our leak detection program and what are the sort of the benefits that we've gotten out of the technology we're using. But I'm going to turn that over to Dave Banker. But just an update on our breaks. Since we last met, May we had 3, and in June we had 8. So we're sort of trending back to normal. We're actually below normal for those months on an annual basis. But before I hand it over to Dave, I just want to do an introduction on our leak detection program. So we do have a fairly robust program. As I mentioned before, through some of our strategic planning presentations we did a number of years ago, we've been utilizing some leak detection technology. And it really is to the benefit, thankful for all the departments, engineering, command center, and operations that have been utilizing this technology, and especially the command center under Dave Ruddy. We've deployed this technology, worked through a lot of the hiccups through it, but what Dave's going to present is this technology that we have is for leak detection. It's acoustical leak detection. So it gets us, we already know the stadium that we play in. It gets us down to basically the section and the row, and then we utilize our staff between command center, utility services, and operations to get us to the seat level and actually locate that leak. And what we've identified now, it's actually over 10% of the leaks that we find now and address are through this leak detection. And part of the benefit is to reduce that non-revenue water. So we're selling more of the water that we treat on a daily basis, and then ultimately make that better and better. But as we deploy this technology to more parts of our system, we're going to see better results, and ultimately we'll be able to address those leaks between 7:30 and 4, which is a benefit to our employees as well, that we're not being called out in the middle of the night to address something when it's 10 degrees out and it's freezing. So again, it's all benefit, but I'll turn it over to Dave.
Well, Chris, before you do that, we actually had taken that off the agenda.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
That's a different item.
Is that a different item?
That's about processing reimburse or a credit on customer accounts.
oh, okay, I'm sorry, never mind that, I apologize.
no, that's
Go
just
ahead,
leak
go ahead then,
detection, so-
please, go ahead. All right, I thought that sounded different.
It's
Right, okay, leak detection, okay, leak, I heard leak.
That's all right.
Go ahead.
So thank you, everyone. Once again, Dave Banker. The slide previous to this just shows, over the past 20 years, we've had a continuing increase in the number of leaks and breaks within our water mains in our system. It's just the aging of the system. So there's a higher need to replace more water main. So in response to that, the next slide also, you can see the maroon or red bars are our annual water main replacements in comparison to the yellow, which is the total pipeline, water pipeline installed. So since we've really, tried to push this program forward from 2019 or so, we've time and again, multiple times achieved our 10 mile per year replacement that we target. And last year we got up to 13 or so. So this is getting back to the leak detection portion. So over the past 4 years, we worked with our operations folks, also with we're a membership of a TAG group, a technology approval group, which basically looks at new technologies out there. Within that process, we identified the Orbis caps, which go on fire hydrants, and then they'll go on fire hydrants approximately 1,000 feet apart, and then between them, they listen or correlate for leak sounds in the middle of the night when there's when usage in the system is low. So we've rolled these out throughout our system. We've looked at specific areas where leaks don't show as easily also. So we targeted areas across the river, East Hartford, South Windsor, going into Glastonbury, because there's a lot of sandy soils. So water that may leak from water main just disappears into the ground, leaking away. And then we've also targeted critical customers. So we've put some around St. Francis Hospital. We just replaced all the main around Hartford Hospital, so we held off there. And we've also installed them in our high service areas. So one of the largest areas is our high service area extending through Newington, Weathersfield, and then down into Rocky Hill. And one of the reasons for that is because if it's pumped water, so therefore it costs more water. It costs also just like the capacity of the pump station. If your leakage rate starts getting higher, you don't want to have to improve the pump station to make the pumps bigger. You'd rather take away the leakage so that you can feed it with your existing infrastructure. So with this new, so then implementing the Orbis caps, we also worked with the command center because they have SEBA leak correlation devices, which are actually they can then mount those in the field. So we'll first narrow down an area via Orbis where we're shown a leak over multiple days, and then the command center will go out and respond to that in the middle of the night. They'll install the Orbis leak detection devices around there to listen and try to narrow down that leak further, make sure that they get agreement. And then once they get that, then they'll correlate these specific sections of pipe to narrow down the exact footage where they want to dig. So I'm still just on that one, sorry. So one of the reasons why this becomes important, and one of the issues that came up from it that we're dealing with now, is one of our right-of-ways. So basically an area that's not within the roadway in Newington off of Lamplighter Lane. It's a treed right-of-way, so we're going through and clearing it now because we've identified a leak that we would have never found because it's not in the roadway. That was identified by Orbis and confirmed by the SEBA monitors. So we're working with a contractor that should finish that clearing, I believe, by the end of this week or so. So then we can access the area to make a repair on a pipeline that's served from our pump stations in a high service area. Okay. And so, and then thus far, with the Orbis caps, in the first year we had them installed out there, we found 8 leaks. Last year, 28 leaks, and thus far this year we're up to 16, but we're halfway through the year. So I expect to be somewhere in the upper 30s, if not 40 leaks by the end of the year. All right, good. Next slide, thank you. So getting back to the decisions we make on when to make repairs to water mains. So, if it's a blowout within a roadway, the whole roadway is flooded. There's a picture of a car here that's actually sunken into the ground a little bit here from the pavement dropping. So, leaks like that, we have to address those immediately whenever they come up. Those are emergency repairs, no matter the time of day we have to respond to. But when we find smaller leaks, bonnet leaks, like there's the water running down the curb line there from a valve that goes to a hydrant, it's leaking from the top of the valve, or service leaks like the other picture there where it's running up from the curb and then running up from the crack in the roadway, running down the curb. Some of those, if those are identified and confirmed in the middle of the night, those are some of the leaks that then are looked at by the responding crews to say, can this be held off until, like a normal day shift crew arrives also? So can those be more scheduled rather than bringing crews in the middle of the night? So when looking at this, they look at what are the customers that they're affecting. There are also critical customers that we have to consider. So schools, dialysis centers, those are some facilities actually we then look to make the repairs, or our operations and command center look to make those repairs in the middle of the night, because the school's then out of session. You're not taking kids out of school, making them dismiss. And for the dialysis centers, they're not in operation as well. So then you can make the repairs. So then everything can be returned to service by the time then of the following day. And go to the next slide, please. And just getting back to more of the benefits. So as Chris said, we want to try to identify these leaks before they become major repairs or breaks. It's more beneficial that way if you can schedule the repair. Let's see. So we also have the financial benefits. So the cost of water that we're losing through that leak. If you consider that before something becomes a major leak, it may go for months or years even before it's found. So in that time, there's a large quantity of water that's lost, and if that water is pumped, then you have more of a cost there. There's the cost of the emergency labor to respond in the middle of the night, as well as the cost then if you have a major break and a large section of roadway is taken out. It's a far more extensive cost to repair that large area of roadway, to rebuild it and then repave a far larger patch. We also have regulatory requirements. So we have diversion permits where we sell other utilities water. Within those permits, there's requirements for us to perform leak detection across our entire system. Now it's actually every 3 years. And then it's also not looked favorably if we would go for, let's say, a diversion permit to sell water to Manchester, and our non-revenue water or lost water is high, then they may not approve that permit until we can get that water loss under control. And then the other items I already touched on, so thank you. Any questions or discussion?
I just want, Tom, I'll get you in a sec. I just want to say that this is a great program. I'm really happy we're doing it, and obviously it's paying great dividends. So thank you. Thanks to the staff for doing that. Dominic, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the presentation. This equipment that's being installed, do you leave it on, or is it equipment that gets moved to different areas?
So the hydrant caps with the smart caps from Orbis, they can be moved. We've just been installing them in place, so they'll continuously monitor those locations. The SEBA correlators, those can be lifted and shifted anytime, and then they move them from area to area. As they confirm a leak location and they're finished, they'll move them to the next area that they're investigating. And then the digital correlator, that's just a single device that they keep on the truck with them, and then they mount it on the valves to confirm the leak location.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah. There's one in front of my house, so don't move that one, all right?
You got it.
All right, anybody else? Okay, thank you. Thanks very much, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Opportunity for general public comments.
The water revenue.
Oh, what, do we want to talk water revenue or just skip?
It's up to you. I mean,
We could skip that.
Okay, that's fine.
It's
Yeah.
doing well.
that's fine.
We're not behind.
We'll be talking a lot about that in
Yeah.
the budget season. for
There
the
you
budget.
go. There you go. Anyone for public comments? Is anyone on the line? No one's here. Good, thank you. Commissioner requests for consideration of future agenda items. Anyone? Yes, Commissioner Gardo.
Yes. Reading the CEO report from earlier this month, it talks about outreach meetings. And what I'm curious about is, are commissioners invited to that? There was one for Copper Mill, and there was also one for Garden Street. I didn't know the work was being done, but I did get the invitation for the Inland and Wetlands Commission that I went to last month. So just some consistency, just,
Got it.
I don't know if that's an agenda item or
Not really.
if I messed up
Maybe just a good point.
the new muzzling.
Thank you. Okay, then take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. All right.